for instance, there are those people who go on various poverty-ridden countries and work, and they call that compassion. But they are attached or tied to a particular form of religious belief. And therefore that's merely pity, sympathy, but it's not compassion.
Yes, well, I understand that we have here two things which can be somewhat independent. There's the brain and the mind, though they make contact. Now then, intelligence and compassion, we say, come from beyond the brain. Now then, I would like to go into the question of how they are making contact, you see. That is...
contact can only exist between the mind and the brain when the brain is quiet.
Yes, and that's the condition for making it. That's the requirement for making it. Now then, the brain has got to be quiet. Now,
quiet is not a trained quietness, not a self-conscious meditative desire for silence. It's a natural outcome of understanding one's own conditioning.
Yes, and one can see that if the brain is quiet, then it can, you could almost say it can listen to something deeper, right?
Deeper, that's right. Then if it is quiet, it's related to the brain.
Yes.
Then to the mind. Then the mind can function through the brain.
Now, I think that it would help if we could see, with regard to the brain, whether it has any activity which is beyond thought. You see, for example, one could ask, is awareness part of the function of the brain?
As long as awareness in which there is no choice, I'm aware, and in that awareness I choose.
Yes, well, I think that may cause difficulty. You see, what is wrong with choice?
Choice means confusion.
It's not obvious just from the word, you see that.
Of course, to choose between two things.
Well, now I could choose whether I buy one thing or another.
I can choose between this table and that table.
Or choose the colors when I buy the
this
table.
better table.
That apparently need not be confused. If I choose which color I want, I don't see why that has to be confused.
There's nothing wrong.
Yeah, now...
There's no confusion there.
But the choice about the psyche, it seems to me, is where the confusion is.
We are talking about the psyche.
Yeah, one tends to, the language tends to carry you away, you see.
Yeah, and we're talking of the psyche that chooses.
Yes, it chooses to become, really.
Yeah, chooses to become, and also choice exists where there is confusion.
Yes, well, you're saying out of confusion, the psyche makes a choice to become one thing or another.
Yeah.
That being confused, it tries to become something better. Right?
And choice implies a duality.
Yes, but now it seems at first sight we have another duality you've introduced, which is the mind and the brain.
No, that's not a duality.
Yeah, well, that's important to get clear.
That's not a duality.
Yes, what is the difference?
All right, let's take a very simple example. Human beings are violent. And this has been, non-violence has been projected by thought. And that is the duality, the fact and the non-fact.
Well, you're saying there's a duality between a fact and some mere projection which the mind makes.
The ideal and the fact.
Yes, and the ideal is unreal and the fact is real.
That's it, the ideal is not actual.
Yes, it's not actual. Now and you say the division of those two you call duality, but why do you give it that name? Yeah.
Because they're divided.
Well, at least they appear to be divided.
And we are struggling, as all, say for instance, the totalitarian communist ideals and the democratic ideals, they are the outcome of thought and so on, which is limited, and this is creating havoc in the world.
Yes, so there's a division which has been brought in but I think we were discussing in terms of dividing something which cannot be divided, right? We're trying to divide the psyche.
Violence cannot be divided into non-violence.
Yeah. And the psyche cannot be divided into violent and non-violent. That is,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. So if it's violent, it cannot be divided into a violent and a non-violent part. Right?
So that's very good. So, can we remain with what is, not with what should be, what must be, and invent ideals and all the rest of it?
Yes, but could we return to the question of the mind and the brain now? That we're saying that is not a division.
Oh no, that's not a division.
They're in contact, is that one?
We said there is contact between the mind and the brain when the brain is silent and has space.
Yes, so we're saying that the mind actually, although they're in contact and not divided at all, there can be an independent, that the mind can still have a certain independence of the conditioning of the brain.
Now careful, sir.
Yeah.
Careful. Let's see. Suppose my brain is conditioned, being programmed as a Hindu, and I function, act, my whole life is conditioned by the idea that I'm a Hindu. Mind obviously has no relationship with that condition.
Now, when you're using the word mind, it means it's not my mind, or
mind.
You're discussing mind universally or generally.
Yeah. It's not my brain either.
No, but there's a particular brain, this brain or that brain, and now, but will you say there's a particular mind?
No.
No, you see, that's an important difference.
Yeah.
They're saying mind is really universal.
Mind is universal, if you can use that word.
Yes, or unlimited, or
yes.
Undivided.
Not polluted by thought.
But, see, I think for most people, at least there will be a difficulty saying, how do we know anything about this mind? I only know my mind is the first feeling, right?
You cannot call it your mind. You only have your brain which is conditioned. You can't say it's my mind.
Yes. Well, whatever is going on inside, I feel is mine. It's very different from what's going on inside somebody else.
No, I question whether it's...
At least that seems different at first sight.
I question whether it is different. What's going on inside me as a human being and you as another human being, we both go through all kinds of problems, suffering, fear, anxiety, loneliness, and so on, so on. Yeah. We have our dogmas, beliefs, superstitions, and everybody has this.
Well, we'll say it's all very similar, but still it seems each one of us is isolated from the other.
By thought. Thought is created that I am different from you.
Yes.
Because my body is different from you, my face is different from you. So we carry that same we extend that same thing into the psychological area.